Ladies.
Hello.
Hello. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So, first before I dig in deeper, I have Lainey and Kirstine introduce themselves. But I'm the fabulous Doris Birch, and this is a part of a Polka Dot Powerhouse collab between England and the USA. And we have three different time zones, which I think is absolutely incredible. Lainey was like this morning, and she was like, I just woke up, and I'm like, this is so cool. I'm like, we're just all be able to do these fabulous things, but I wanted to get together with these two incredible women because they've made some really fabulous moves in their lives to be who they are going to be. And I'm all about who women are being. And I'm like, the being is everything. And so I thought, what better to have a conversation on the mindset shift of being on. And when I mean, for those of you who want to really understand, I know you hear this whole thing about being, but so many women get so caught up in the doing and they think that is going to be the thing that's going to move them to really step into their fabulous life, and then they find themselves stuck and on this roller coaster ride, year after year, day after day. And so I was like, it's the being. You don't get anything you want in life until you start being that version of that woman. And I know this year I had to make some different decisions about who I was being. And so we're going to dig into that. But before we go any further, let me have Kirstine introduce herself, and then Lainey, you introduce yourself after that.
Oh, thanks, Doris. So I'm Kirstine. My business is Elevate Women. I am a confidence and transition coach, and I help women build unshakable confidence so they can elevate their business, career, or message. And I love this topic. It's been so important to me because I set my business up 3 years ago after 32 years in corporate, where I was doing every day, all the hours, and coming home and just having nothing left. So, who was I being? I was being worn out, lethargic, fed up, tired, all those things. So I'm delighted to be here with Doris and Lainey to talk about this. So Lainey, what about you?
Well, hi, ladies. I am on the West Coast. I'm in beautiful Bend, Oregon. And if you've ever been here, you know it's a fabulous place just to be. I built a 7-figure business and was so burnt out, so miserable that I ended up in a month treatment for depression. And so that's a piece of my story. And I lost everything and I went on food stamps. So that's kind of my my story. Like in 30 seconds or less, that's my story. Isn't it
I
great?
only just met you, Lainey.
I know it's kind of a crazy story. That's true. It's all true. And anyway, so from there, I spent 2 years in recovery. And I actually remember kind of at the beginning of my journey, I was on a retreat with a group of people and we were going around saying our goals for the year. And all I can remember feeling was, what is he talking about? I have no goals. I just lost my whole life. And I remember saying, my only goal this year is just to be. And that has carried me through the last 8 or 9 years of my life, really, really stepping into who am I being? It's so much more important and it will get you where you want to go. So I took a couple of years off just to do recovery and then came back and I am now a business coach. I run Thrive Business Academy because I believe that as women, we need to thrive in our businesses and in our lives in every area. So I love this topic and I love that the three of us are getting together from all over the world to bring this message to you and just to share with you about our stories, but also how we step into what we're doing now because of being something different than what we were.
Yes. So, so for me, this year, my birthday's in March, and I celebrate the whole month.
Me
And
too, Doris.
because why not? Um, but it was funny in February. I created a room in our house. I turned it into what I call my glam room studio. And at the time when I was doing that, that was just because I just wanted a glam room studio. And I didn't even connected to my deep desire to have this fashion career, the way I had always envisioned this fashion career I was supposed to have. I worked in the industry early on in my 20s and 30s. I always worked for some type of retail company and was in the area, but I deviated it. I deviated it and went different paths and all the things. So it never ended up looking like the career I wanted. And lots of reasons why. It's the whole thing is generally when women don't have what they want, you play small and you don't believe you can have it, or you think you're not ready for it, or ready to make some moves or make some decisions, or maybe other people are influencing some of the decisions you're making. All the things that can happen in this journey we have of a life. And so and I used so I had a coaching company. I still do have a coaching company. It's just kind of it's it looks different. And then I have a publishing division, but the fashion is going to be our primary focus this year, and with the other two just being the things that I do because I do love them. But they are truly not my dream. They support me in achieving and helping women really step into being a fabulous life. But the dream that was ingrained in my soul when I came out my mom's womb is fashion. That is my thing. I can do stuff with that with my eyes closed. And so I was like, what does that look like this year? And I sort of tapped into it a little bit in 2018. The ideal came to me in 2018 from being on Instagram. And I was like, I really should probably create a style blog and all that. And so I did, but it required a lot of energy, which I did not have for it. And so you just kind of like let it go by the wayside and I'll figure it out maybe. I didn't make it a priority in 2018. Uh, so now 2022, after us all coming from this incredible experience the world gave us, to open up and be a little bit more awakened to who we are, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do the coaching the way I was doing it anymore. Um, I love my books, so the books are fine. But those are a passion project that I just got downloaded to just step in to do because I do think the power of women's stories is incredible. So when I was like, oh my gosh, I have this glam room studio, I think I should just go ahead and be a fashion content creator. And then all the things came into my head. Well, you're older now. Can you be a content creator? You're older. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? I'm like, I'm still amazing and still fabulous. So why not?
More fabulous as we get older, Doris.
You're absolutely correct. And I was like, and I have these closet full of clothes. I'm always buying stuff. I have a point of view in this area that I think for women, especially as you get older, because you can get confused. I think the whole fashion industry makes it hard for women as we age. It's like we somehow get become invisible to me in the viewpoint of how they have the clothes for women to choose. And sometimes you just don't. I know I don't ever want to be frumpy. That cannot happen to me. So
I can't imagine that, Doris.
I resonate with that too, Doris. I have a closet full of clothes.
and I was like, no. And I was like, I think women should have the fat factor. I think what you put on should really speak to your soul, lighten you up, and then you go out into the world and do your thing, and then you're just so much more lit up because the least thing you're worried about is what you look like. Because even though it's external, but it's really internal, and it all comes from the inside out. And so that's how your being is. So that was my big thing for me, giving myself permission. So in March, after my birthday, I was like, we're just going to step into doing this. I don't know how to do this. I really, I'm not that tech savvy, but we're just going to do it. And so that took me on a big journey of who I was being, because at that point, I would not have believed I was not doing my dream work. I thought the coaching was the dream. I thought that when I stepped into coaching, that was supposed to be my dream back in 2010. And to really realize the question my coach asked was, or basically her statement was, you don't have any more time to live the wrong life. And that sort of resonated. I was like, what do you mean by that? And because how am I living the wrong life? You know, and I was like, I got this coaching business, I got the books and all this stuff, the publishing. And she's like, is it your dream? Well, she's like, you always talk about fashion.
She had your number, Doris.
She did. And I was like, it is. I said, it was the gift that I got, you know, honestly. And I was like, but what can that look like? Because I'm not going back into corporate. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that hustle and bustle. And then I started following, you know, I follow some influencers, and I started realizing when you become a top influencer, it has all the components of everything I want in the fashion business. So I was like, we're just going to do it. We're just going to step into it. We're going to do it. Not as I do everything. I don't know how to do anything I've done in these since 2010. So we'll just not know how to do this either and learn.
And so I love that because you're stepping into something that you don't know how to do. So you have to become it. You have to be it. You know, it's this idea of like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so you just step into it. And I love that. I think women need to hear that message.
Yeah. Because I had to ask myself, it's the question I've always asked myself, but this year I had to be more intentional about the question, who do I want to be? Who is it that I really want to be? And then will I accept the assignment of being her?
We do often think that we have to have it all figured out, every step of the plan. And particularly if we've been in a corporate world, because, you know, you have to present the full picture. Whereas as an entrepreneur, it is that, Doris. I mean, I am doing things before I even know what it is that I'm really doing sometimes. Because otherwise you stay stuck. You stay stuck in the, I don't know how to do this, so therefore I won't do it. So I love what you're saying. We just have to but you know what? One of the most difficult questions to answer is, what do we really want? Because
most difficult.
It's amazing how difficult that really is to answer, and that does not come from your head.
Right.
So that question does not come from our head, but of course that's where we are most of the time. It's definitely where I was most of the time. And
I think too, as women, because working with women over the last 25 years, very few women know what they want. And it's the most important question. It's the single most important question. And I think there's a lot of emotion that comes with that. First of all, we suppressed it so much. Like, what do you really want? It's all like smushed down. But then also this idea of there's guilt or shame or fear, or so many emotions around that. Haven't you found that?
If I get what I want, then that might mean someone doesn't get what they want. And
that's not true.
No, but that, you know, that can be the thought process, and then we dim down what we want. But the fabulous Doris Birch does not do that.
No, I don't dim down. But you know what? I can think back, like me having this fashion thing. So I grew up in a family that was in education and nursing. Education and nursing. And here I come along. I like fashion. I like everything. And I remember, I was thinking about this yesterday. I remember when my mom's sister, my aunt, because I didn't go to New York like I wanted to go, so I had to, you know, try to piece together some kind of career in Kansas City, Missouri, where I'm from. And so I didn't have it. I was in between looking for jobs or whatever. And my aunt was like, said, oh, you can be they're hiring for the state patrol. You could be a state patrol officer. And I was like, have you met me? I'm just was really confused by that.
Mhm.
I'm like, you have seen me my entire life,
Mhm.
and you are recommending me to apply for a state patrol
Mhm.
job. Like, carry a gun, drive a car, wear that uniform. Where in America do you think why would I do that? Why would I do that? That would be horrible. At least I had enough sense to know that would not be a fit, but I just thought, wow, that was what she was choosing for me,
Mm.
just to have a job.
Well, I think it's interesting because, that old saying of, if you don't know what you want, you're going to, you don't know your dream, you're going to be fulfilling someone else's dream. And so it's up to us as women to know what we want, know our dreams, and step into them boldly without any kind of apology to anyone, because we're living our best life. And one of the things that I do every morning is, before I even get out of bed, I say, okay, today I'm living my one God-given best life, and I'm taking as many people with me as possible. What is that going to look like for me today? So just to remind myself, like, what am I about? Whether I'm eating my breakfast, living my best life, or my kids, or for my clients, or just for, the clerk at the store, how can I help her in this moment live the best life? So I think it's, when we know what we want, first of all, it gives permission to everyone else around us to have what they want and to step into their beautiful life, because there is only one life. And
Yes.
so many women are not stepping up and living it. I spent 40 plus years living someone else's life, a life I hated. I was crying every single day. I couldn't see a way out. And all I wanted to do was roll up in a ball and die. I literally was at a point where I had no idea what my favorite color was. I couldn't tell you anything about my life. I'd spent it serving all the people either in my therapy practice. I built this huge business, my family, my husband, all the different people in my life, that I was just lost. I was so, my life was, I was like a shell of a human. And I think that so many women maybe don't get to the extreme that I was at, but they're walking around a shell of a woman. And if you're resonating with some of the stuff that we're talking about, get some coaching, get some help, so that you can be the woman that God, the universe, has called you to be, and step into your beautiful self, because being is everything. Now, I now ask myself, so I'm in my mid 50s, and I'm like, okay, what's my 60-year-old? What does she look like? Who's she hanging out with? What is she doing? Where is she going in the world? And I step into her every single day, because she's a rock star. And so I'm like, well, got to be her. So, what does she wear? Where'd she go? Who does she hang out with? And what kind of business does she have? All the things. So I'm letting my future self pull me forward.
Yes.
And
Yes.
obviously there's been some things in my past that have shaped me, but I don't let them pull me back.
No.
The reason that your windshield is bigger than your rear view mirror. If you're living in your rear view mirror, your life is going to be small. You're going to be like me, crying at your sink every day, miserable, until you like, oh, life is meant to be lived through the windshield, going forward and living this big, beautiful life. So yeah, I think that being it's the thing.
It's the thing.
It is the thing. And when it finally sinks in that it's the thing, it like radically changes your life. Like, who are
It's
you
so
being?
weird though, isn't it? That when you just said, when it finally sinks in,
Mhm.
and it's taken me till my late 40s to figure this out. You've said it's taken you a long time.
Mhm.
What's going on? And maybe, coaches and people like us that do what we do will mean that it doesn't take that long going forward, because it's kind of frustrating. It's a wonderful thing when you start to embrace that and shift from doing, and that whole, I mean, for me, it was all the masculine energy because I was in a very masculine world, and I was deadlines, actions, executing this, that, and the, you know, all of that stuff was my life. And then suddenly you just think, hang on, that's not who I really am. That's just what I'm doing.
Right.
And then it's, well, who the hell am I? I don't know. And then what do I want? Not this.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of start there, don't you, to then unravel the rest.
And starting with who you're being, you know, and I love what your coach said to you, Doris, you know, you don't have much time left to live this, you know, half-baked life that you've got. You know, it's this idea of you get to have what you want. I love working. I have a couple clients in their 20s, and it's so fun because, you know, 20s, 30s, 40s, ladies, if you're listening to this, get a coach, you know, get someone to help you pull you forward in your life, because you get to have what you want. And I think more and more it's our time as women to rise up and really step into who we are. I think it's such a beautiful time. And I love, Doris, that, you know, you've shifted into, I mean, I think for all three of us, you know, we've shifted into something that was totally different to where we are now, not just what we're doing, but because of who we're being, it's forced us to have a hard look at what we do. So they go together for sure, but the being for sure, when you finally get it and you step into being who you're supposed to be being, life comes alive.
Yeah. Well, let me give you an example. This is okay. So I've always been into fashion. I learned how to sew, design, all that stuff since I was young. I know how to sew. I want y'all to be real clear. I know how to sew. And so I bought this dress a few years ago that has been sitting in my closet because I didn't like the belt. The belt was attached to the dress. Now, after I made this decision, it felt like my creativity came back in a way that, like, when I did the glam room, I mean, all the things I wanted were just there. You know, it's just like putting this thing together was like no brainer. I was like, creativity started coming back. I didn't realize my creativity was gone. So I go in my closet because I'm moving stuff around, and that dress that I want to be able to wear. And all I say to myself is, why do you just take the belt off the dress, Doris? You have to ripper. Why didn't you just take it off? So I think I've had that dress for the last 4 years. For 4 years, my brain has been blocked that I had a seam ripper, that all I had to do was just take the belt off and I could have wore the dress. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's how it looks for women. We are so blocked when we're not in alignment to who it is we're really here to be. And we don't see things, creativity, vision, all the things, the clarity of who you are is just blocked. And you don't even know it. You're waking up every day in this fog of yourself. Well, like you were saying, this shell of you, and you're not seeing simply. I was like, it took me just a couple of minutes just to take that belt off. I was like, I can now wear this dress. I'm like, how is this possible that I literally it didn't dawn on me to take it off? I mean, that just didn't hit me. Wow.
But Doris, what you said, I love it. You said it took me a minute to take the belt off. And I think women think, oh, this is like this hard work to do this, but in a minute you can shift your life. Right in this minute, when we're talking right here, right now, you can make a decision to shift your life. Like, it only takes a minute to step into being who you're supposed to be. I mean, I love that. It's beautiful.
It's knowing that we have the choice, isn't it? Irrespective of what else is going on, we get to choose who we are. You know, we can't necessarily control everything else. And that's another thing, you know, this control that sometimes I certainly have felt like I needed to have control over things, and not having that feeling is brilliant. But I think one of the biggest shifts for me is I don't know if either of you have heard of Claire Zammit. She's American. She's a PhD, and she is founder of Evolving Wisdom and Feminine Power. And I've been studying with her for the last, I don't know, 2.5 years. And one of the first things you learn is to step out of reaction and into creation, which what I love about that is they're the same letters, but you order them differently, just like you order your life differently. And so I'm always thinking to myself, am I reacting to things, or am I actually creating this version of me that I'm becoming more and more of? Or am I reacting to everybody else's stuff and living on their agenda? And for years, that's exactly what I was doing. So
I think it's easier in some ways because we're not taught how to respond to create. I love that. I love that paradigm shift because it's a little bit, you know, we're taught you can react or you can respond, but I love that paradigm. You know, you're either reacting or you're creating. I love that. You know, I'll tell my clients, you know, it doesn't matter where you are right now. You've created it. Where you're at right now, you've made it. If it's a mess, you've made it. That's good news. It's super good news. Mess, right? Because if you've created this big mess in your life, it's super good news because it means you can create something brand new starting now, you know. And I love what you said about the reaction versus creation, because that's just a momentary shift. Like Doris said, it's like taking off the belt and doing something. You get to create your life.
Yeah, it's not even a minute, is it? It's the blink of an eye. It's the taking the moment to just pause and realize that there's two roads. There's the one that you normally go down in these moments, or there's a different one, which creates a different outcome. And that's all it takes. And sometimes that's scary as well, because it can feel really unfamiliar. So all of these things, probably people listening to us, if some of this is unfamiliar because maybe they haven't had a coach or they haven't done some of this work on themselves, this can all feel like, well, it's easy for you to say, but that's really difficult for me to do because I'm in a mess, or I'm in, you know, whatever situation is going on. And we all know there's enough stress out there, cost of living crisis, climate change, whatever on earth is going on with politics, particularly over here. There's enough reason for us to think and believe that we have to react. And so taking that moment just to think, I have a choice, is an easy thing to take the moment, but can feel more challenging to actually make the choice. And that's where, as you say, Lainey, having someone who is supporting and guiding you and has had their own hot mess to deal with.
Who gets it? Like who gets to step in? I mean, literally, I stood at my sink and cried every day. And I can remember being so overwhelmed. My business was, the last month of my business made $177,000 brought in the door in 1 month. And so like, I was successful on the outside and I was dying on the inside. My marriage was a mess. Everything was just a total disaster in my life. So for me, and I couldn't see a way out, and I was a mental health therapist in major breakdown. And so I did what I tell my clients to do. I was working with eating disorders for 15 years. And I said, Lainey, you need to go to treatment. And so that's where I went, spent a month there. Took a team of 10 people to wrap around me to help me get to the next place in my life. So you cannot do it alone. If you've been lone rangering it, it doesn't happen.
No.
You
And
need-
I tried to do that. I tried to do lots of things on my own because, like many women, we believe we should be able to do it all.
Mhm.
We should just be able to take care of everything. And so then when you're struggling, you make it then mean something about you. It
Mhm.
must be your fault. It must be because I'm not good enough, smart enough, whatever enough. And it's just a cycle. It's just a repeat, isn't it? So get some support, and it is amazing what can change in your life.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right. This message that I think also in the world with I don't know your two viewpoints on it. I have a massive viewpoint on this thing that somehow has become a thing, where people say imposter syndrome. And one of the things when I was, working with my coaching clients, I was like, I don't personally think it's a thing because I don't know any imposter who's not rocking it. I mean, they are all highly confident people, totally own whatever they're impostoring about. So I was like, what's the syndrome?
It's not a
Where's the
syndrome.
syndrome? Because an imposter doesn't even reveal their imposter, and they do the thing and they do it pretty well. And I was like, I kind of sort of follow just a little bit. I just checked in to see if this woman was still around. That Anna Delvey woman, and they did the Netflix special on her. She's a younger woman, but she created this whole persona,
Oh, yeah.
and people bought into it. And she's in ICE right now and she has got a thriving Instagram going. She's got a business going and all the things. And I was like, this is so good for me to see because she doesn't care. She's just got her idea of who she wants to be. It doesn't matter that she's not a technically free woman. She's in some kind of facility. But even when she was in prison and then she got the ICE, I mean, she's still doing her thing. She still has this vision of herself as this certain type of woman, and she holds on to it. And I'm like, if that's not a great message for all of us, especially those of us who are free to walk around and do the things we want to do, if we're not being that woman, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. She does not care what we think about her. She's still doing her thing. And so I was like, it's that big thing getting out of your way and stop being invisible. Our message here is really about women that don't be invisible, be fabulous. And I'm always saying, don't be invisible to the woman you want to be. That's the first thing. And that was my big insight because I knew when I got that mission to step on that path, I have constantly asked myself how where am I being invisible? And it was subtle. It was so subtle. But it was always wrapped around who I was being. Like, who do you really want to be? That really was being the message, like, given to me. I just had to keep digging deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into getting that to be revealed to me. But it's like, you think you're not invisible, but if you aren't being who you want to be, and if you're not really tapped in this dream, and as I was listening to somebody yesterday and was like, it's being on that frequency and it's being in that activation and it's being in that way of beingness and it's accepting assignment. Like, that's my question I ask myself. Are you going to accept that as the assignment today? Are you going to be the woman who accepts the assignment of being a fashion influencer? So I'm like, I just declare myself as this top fashion influencer. Does it
That's
look
right.
like that today? Well, yeah, in my brain it does. Like yesterday, was it yesterday or Tuesday, whatever day it is. Anyway, I got the download to ask for some help because I was like, I don't know how we're gonna build this in social media. this feels like an impossible thing. But so I was like, okay, we had 100,000 goal. That's overwhelming. So I said, let's break it down. Let's just come down to a little bitty bite. Let's just get 1,100. And I only needed like 9 more people. And I put it out there. And so I passed it. You know, people helped me in that. I was like, however we get to this number, we're gonna have to just ask people to like me on social media and follow me.
But I love that because it's asking for support, asking for help, saying, hey, I can't do this alone. I mean, it's just another example of we can't do this life alone. I mean, we're here to support and love and work with each other and collaborate with each other, you know.
I know. And I was like, it was a small number, it's like 1,100. And you know, before I was beating myself up about it and like, oh, that's so significant, but it's not. It's how you get to 100K.
One at a time.
Got to start somewhere, haven't you? Yeah.
But you know, Doris, it's also, again, goes back to that being factor, stepping into that woman who gets 100K. She asks for support. You know, she's someone who asks for what she wants, right? Exactly. I mean, it goes back to knowing what you want. You want 100,000 followers on there. Okay, so you're going to go for it. I was having coffee with a friend here locally this week, another business owner, and she says, I want my business to get to $1 million. And I was like, me too. I know what I want. You know, there's this knowing what we want as women and then going after it unapologetically because number one, because we can, number two, because it makes the world a better place. And number three, because it rises everyone up, right? The rising tide brings up all the boats.
Yes.
And so, you know, as we rise together and support one another, we all rise together.
Well, I know that if you lift one woman up, she lifts 10 women up.
That's right.
So
you're right.
You know,
you're right.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring because I mean, we all have seen people that support us and we're like, oh my gosh, she did it. But you know, it's like, but the belief, you know, my biggest thing is constantly reminding myself to have the belief, like the, you know, like for some reason, and it always just tickles me, you know, in a way that I have a publishing division, not because I intentionally set out to have one. I just kind of asked the universe and my spiritual guides, what was I supposed to do next in 2015? And my soul heard book, and I intuitively just followed the guidance. And I find when I get a download and I do it, I get what I want. Just like I got the download to ask to get to 1,100 followers on Instagram. And I just was like, okay, I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to think it's silly. I'm just going to follow the vision. Every time I follow the vision and just believe that's where I'm supposed to go, it just surprises me in so many ways. And so so that gives me belief. It's like, but if I question something, that always takes me down the wrong path and then it takes a little longer to get what I want, because then I get sort of out of alignment and I'm not being who I need to be. And so I was like, we need to shift back, believe, you know, have the belief that this is what you want. This is who you are. And it's period. It's like, yeah, we can create this. Why can't we create this? Other people have created it. Well, you know, it's like, I'm not doing anything new and have to come up and that I'm not doing anything new. If another woman and I just did an example, you know, people think Michael Jackson created the moonwalk. I don't know who really created the moonwalk, but they just did. I put it on my Instagram. It was a dancer, tap dancer guy in 1955. And they had him tap dancing, and he did the moonwalk. Well, if he did it, somebody taught him or something. We don't know who people were doing it, but you know, it's like, oh my gosh. And you know, I thought that's how you do it. Somebody's done it. Somebody has done some version of what it is we want to do. $1 million businesses, women are
doing it. Well, you know, and I think there's a documentary called Everything is a Remix. And if you are a business owner or a creator or something, it's totally worth a watch, because it is, it just kind of like, I think we as women feel like, oh, I have to create something new. I have to create something different. I have to create something better. So we're out there and we're looking at what everyone else is doing, and we get defeated thinking, well, I could never do what she's doing. I couldn't do that, or I can't, I'm so far behind. Well, you're not behind. You're right just where you should be. And this documentary pulls apart all of the great people who are in music right now, and all of the different, kind of like what you said, Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk. He wasn't the first one. And so to take something and put your spin on it is so necessary. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be brand new. We talk about creation, and we're just doing it from our point of view, from from our experiences and our life, and someone out there needs it. When I am working with my business clients, really helping them thrive in all areas of your life. I love what you said. You get up in the morning and look at and take inspired action. It's stop questioning everything that comes to you in a download. If something comes to you, just act on it. Make that the next thing you do that day, because and it's trusting you. But we as women, we lack this self-trust and this idea of, well, maybe that's not right. Maybe it's this way, or maybe it's that way, or she did it this way, or she did it that way. One of the things that I do on a regular basis is clear out my inbox, because I'll, look at things, and all of a sudden my inbox is full of all these people that I don't know. And they've maybe got a great product and a great thing, but I haven't even read their emails. And so I'll go through and I'll clear out everyone in my inbox so that it's really clear, really clean. But I do that regularly with my life too. If you can't figure out what the next step is to do, make what did you call it? What's your closet? What's your space?
Oh, my glam room studio.
Your glam room, right? I love that, because you had to clear out everything before you created something new, right? And for me, in my life, whenever I want to create something new, I have to clear out all the old stuff. Even, Kirsten, when you're talking about, reacting or creating, in order for you to do that, you have to clear out your old way, the way that you might have reacted, so that you can put in something new. So if you're lacking creativity, if you can't figure out how to be clear, just clear something, clear out some clutter somewhere. Maybe it's your wallet. I do a lot on money and money mindset and building abundance in your life. And one of the things I have my clients do, clear out your wallet, clear out your purse, get something that's beautiful, that represents money, that every time you pull it out, it reminds you that money is beautiful. Clear off your desk. Clear out your closet. I think it's very interesting to me, Doris, that when you cleared out that room and you now had space to create something new. And not only did you create a glam room, but you created a brand new life for yourself.
I know, I did. And that's what's so exciting. But the other piece that I have to say, and I think this is vital for women, is that one of the things I had to do was I had to forgive myself. I had to go deep into forgiving me for just putting self-abandoning me in a lot of ways, and being really honest with myself about that. And once I could forgive me for the guilt, or the feeling like, oh, I wasted time, or or whatever, I was like, you know what? No, I didn't waste any time. And this is perfect for me in so many ways, because it reminded me to go back, because in 2018, when I made the decision to step into this world, but not really knowing what that was going to look like. Well, 2018, I went to an event and got my photographer that was here locally. And so, I had taken some pictures in 2018, 2019. Then we got back in the groove in late 2021, 22. Well, I have content from that. And I was like, all that works for now for me trying to keep figuring out what do I need to create. how to get my brain used to creating reels and doing, social media posts and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, it all works. It always in alignment. What you thought wasn't, like you wasted, like you should have done this in 2018. No, this is fine. You're doing it now, but look what you have, because you did at least step into it in 2018. You at least have some content to use and to start creating and building from there. I was like, you're just brilliant, Doris. You're just brilliant. I was like having these conversations to forgive myself on waiting or thinking I missed an opportunity, or, that like that. I was like, long as I'm awake, long as I can still use this body, long as I still like my things, I can still do it and feel good about myself and be able to help some women along the way.
Well, and I love what you said about forgiving yourself for abandoning yourself and for, not being where you think you should be. I mean, gosh, I didn't even go to treatment and get my life together until my, mid to late 40s. And so there's been, for me, I've had to do a lot of that work, a lot of forgiving myself. I spent most of my life just being completely invisible. And so for me to step into who I am powerfully has been it's been challenging, and it's been really also sweet, to step out of that zone of, gosh, I'm used to being invisible and it feels comfortable being invisible. No one gives you any crap when you're invisible, and to step into being that woman who shows up powerfully in the world. There's, for me, sometimes I think, I'm not making a difference. Things aren't happening the way that I would like them to happen, or, I should be here, or I should be there. I was on the front end of this curve and the front end of that curve, and here, all those things come into my mind. And I think, no, I am exactly today where I am supposed to be, stepping powerfully into who I am. And I kind of sort of had a similar experience as you, Doris, where when I first went into coaching, because I knew when I got out of therapy, I was a mental health therapist working with eating disorders. And I thought, I'll go into health coaching and help women with emotional eating. And I was like, ooh, no, that feels just like therapy. I really want to help women step into power. And I really want to help women step into being who they are, because you can. Yeah. And because it's not that hard, it's just a different kind of a journey stepping into her. But I think I had to do a lot of that same work, that same forgiveness work, because I was like, well, I should have stepped into business coaching first, because that's what I love doing when I had my therapy practice. And all the therapists would come to me and say, Lainey, how did you build this huge practice? And I would sit down and have coffee and share business strategies with women. I loved it. And so coming back to me means coming back to this place of, you can have whatever it is you want. Let's take your passion and build an empire, if you want to, or take your passion and build a local business. Whatever it is that you're passionate about, you can bring that to life. You can bring that to, it can be a seed that you plant that brings fruit to people all over the world, So I think that part of our work is that forgiving ourselves for abandoning ourselves. I think we abandon ourselves too when every time we're on social media scrolling and thinking, well, she's way ahead of me. I like her post better than, why can't I do a post like that? That's a form of self-abandonment every single time that we do that. And I'm guilty. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I've done that. And I continue to just reset and recenter and come back to myself and say, okay, first of all, where am I? And what is your commitment to yourself? One of my commitments is to use my phone to do business, to really bless people, to spread and I can see that, Doris, that's, you use social media to do the same thing, it's this idea of that's what I want it to be about. So just coming back to center anytime you get off. And for me, it's coming back and saying, okay, how do I want to use my phone? How do I want my life to be? Who do I want to be in this moment? And let go of the guilt. Doesn't serve me. Let go of the feeling bad, the overwhelm, whatever emotion is coming up, just letting go of some of that old stuff so that I can step into powerfully me,
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Love it.
conversation is fabulous. I love this conversation. I love it. I love it. So, do each of you have, like we sort of mentioned a little bit, but do you have three like distinct questions that come through for you to ask yourself to really get you to this place? Like, Kirsten, I know you made your shift from your business. What was like the three questions, if you have three, or what questions did you have for yourself to be this version of yourself as the coach that you are today?
So one is about the creation. What is it that I'm creating and how am I doing it? The other is how can I be imperfect today? Because one of my big things was having to do everything perfectly before I do anything. And we all know that done is better than perfect, but that would hold me back. So how can I be imperfect? And the other question is the relation that I have with myself. So what is the relationship I'm going to have with me today? Am I going to beat myself up? Am I going to judge myself harshly? Am I going to pick holes in everything I've done? Or am I going to say, you're leveling up, you're learning, you're making mistakes, you're growing, it's all good. So they're the things that go through my head all the time. And they're the things that I work with my clients on. Because as women, we are good at beating ourselves up, finding holes. So that's it in a nutshell.
Love those.
Now, so Lainey, I mean, you've said some of your things, but you know, being a business coach, and having this vision of the empire that you're building. So what are the questions you ask daily?
I think this is a great question, Doris. And I think it's such an important piece. I can remember when I was at my worst, I had a mentor, this lovely woman. She passed a couple of years ago. She was 89, but she would say to me, Lainey, you're asking the wrong questions. Stop asking why. Why is never, ever a good question. Why always puts you in the victim. And so it's a one question. And the interesting thing is I've learned since that was 15, 20 years ago that she would say to me, Lainey, stop asking why. So I asked myself, what can I do in this moment to up level where I'm at? How do I want to be today in the world? And when I do find myself like, why, what's happening here? I know to shift quickly to what can I let go of? What do I need to let go of in this moment? And sometimes it's just a state of being. Sometimes it's a bad attitude. Sometimes it's just grumpy. Sometimes it's whatever it is in that moment, and shifting into who I want to be, that letting life flow with grace and ease. And that's another question I ask myself. How can I let this particular thing that I'm working on right now flow with grace and ease? How can I let this be easy? So those are some questions that I ask myself. And if you find yourself asking why, it's important. I think later I learned that when the CDC is doing word clouds, one of the things that they look for is the word why, and it goes along with the F word and why, and there's three words, anger maybe, and when why pops up a lot in a word cloud, a word cloud is taking a specific area. So let's say let's just do Bend, Oregon. Let's say all the people in Bend, Oregon are posting on social media. Why is this happening? Why is this? Why is that? The CDC would actually move into that community because they know it's a high risk for suicide. So if you're asking why a lot, know that quickly shift and ask yourself what, how, what's next? Who do I need to be? There's so many other questions that you can ask yourself. Tony Robbins is famous for saying the quality of your life is the quality of the questions that you ask yourself.
Yeah.
Ask different questions.
I love it. Well, one of the things I did to be clear. So sometimes we think we can remember things and stuff. So I have my little journal, and it's my mantra. It's like every day I read it, to make my declarations, to affirm what I want to create, who I want to be. And that really supports me. Like I have a non negotiable, don't laugh, but I have a non negotiable with myself on my teeth. And so, because people in my family have replacement teeth, and I don't believe in that. And so I have been always very diligent about my teeth. And I was
Me
like,
too, Doris.
and I was like, if I could be this diligent, I'm like, I'm non negotiable about flossing, brushing, taking really good care of my teeth. Well, why come you can't be non-negotiable in other things you want, like you are with your teeth? If because you're determined that these teeth are staying with you till the end. Well, all the other things you want have that same night, and that was a big wake up for me. It's like, oh, I'm non-negotiable, then I'm going to do what I need to do one way or another. So I read my declarations, I read my affirmations so I can remember to be. And I don't know about either one of you, but one, getting older or aging more fabulously comes with some new things in life that you're not prepared for. The shifts that your body makes that you have no control over because it's just the journey. And so perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause is a doesn't you're not prepared for it. You're just not prepared for it. And with COVID and a pandemic, and you're not going anywhere, you I don't know about you, but I wasn't paying attention. And when I had my photo shoot in September 21, and I went to put on my clothes that I picked out because I didn't try them on before. I just had this vision. I'm like, I'm putting them on. To my surprise, they either didn't fit or was extremely tight. And I was like, oh my God. And so then I was like, well, I need to do something about this. And I didn't do anything about it. That was September. I didn't do anything about it. I didn't do anything about it till February of this year when I finally dawned on me that I should care about this area of my life. I should not pretend I'm 30 and I don't have this issue. I apparently have an issue now that I need to rectify and manage and navigate this aging process. And so I weighed myself to my astonishment, and I was like, oh my gosh, this number doesn't work for me. So I had to be like, my teeth analogy, where we're going to be non-negotiable. We're going to get a control of this and we're going to release this weight. Well, when it wasn't gone by the end of February, I was a little distraught and I was like, okay, well, this must have to be something we need to just adopt as a lifestyle. So I was beating myself up and I had to forgive myself on this thing for being like, oh my gosh, Doris, this is a new navigation of this new body, and these shifts that this body does. It's just a part of the journey, but it requires you to pay attention to it and be or else, like my mom, even though she's here on the planet, but she needs a walker and all that. I just don't want that. I mean, if I can do anything that if I can do something to sort of prevent that, then I should be in that. I should be like, let me get in this lane. Let me get in the lane of
Yeah.
exercise, Doris. This needs to be like brushing your teeth. So I found what I could do at home that I like and that I won't be like, oh, I don't want to do it. It's like, that whole thing. And I don't want to work out, trust me, most days. But I'm like, we never say we don't want to brush our teeth. We always want to brush our teeth and floss. So why, we're going to do this workout. And like I did this morning, I'm like, I was running late on time. I'm like, I'm still going to do this workout. It's just 30 minutes of my day, 30 minutes. I'm like, if you can't give yourself 30 minutes, then why are you here? Why are you even on this planet? If you are like 30 minutes is too much to just work out. And so I did that. And so that made some shifts for me. And I was like, but that's simple little things like that is where we as women, I think, can get caught up and be like, oh, I don't want to do 30 minutes of working out, or I don't want to do 30 minutes of, this in my business, or I don't want to do, 30 minutes. 30 minutes can change your life.
Absolutely.
When working out or doing 30 minutes in your business, set a timer and do 30 minutes in your business. You could just create all kind of things in 30 minutes if you just didn't want to do anything else the rest of the day. I truly believe that. And so that was my big wake up call, because I was like, I needed to get in my clothes, because I'm like, I can't buy, I need to wear these clothes. So we're not buying new clothes, because we're not going there. We're just going to lose. We're going to get back that you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be a certain weight. And I was like, it's not vain and stuff, but people will have you. And it's funny sharing that journey. And it's interesting how people's viewpoint of that is like, some people like, oh, you're aging, so you're supposed to gain weight and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, well, don't talk to this person. You find out who you can't really talk to about certain things, because they're like, no, I'm not going to believe that. I'm not going to believe that because I'm getting older, my body has to look like, what I don't want it to look like. And it's not body shaming or anything. It's just what you want. And it's interesting how people's own personal viewpoints will try to deter what you're doing and create another thing like that body shame. No, it's not no damn body shame. I just don't want this weight on my body, period.
Well, and I think too, I think that's such a great picture, because there are certain people we can't talk to about certain things, that they feel maybe guilty or whatever about what they're doing in their way. And so they want to bring you down to their level, instead of you being like, no, I don't have to be this way. I work out every day too. It's a non-negotiable for me. I brush my teeth and I work out every day. It's just what I do. But I think it goes back to the rising tide raises all the boats. Let us be the people who raise the standard, and let's be healthy. I told my daughter the other day, because my husband's parents were here, and they're trouble walking and doing all these things, and they're 80. And I feel like they aged like 20 years turning 80. Anyway, I told her, I said, well, when I'm 80, I'm going to be hiking still. So I'm going to be fit. So we get to choose, you get to create your life. You get to choose.
This has been great. We have gone over a little of our time. This has been fabulous. This is what happens when a fabulous conversation happens. But I just wanted to thank you too for playing and coming on to have this conversation that will impact another woman's life. So thank you both. This has been fun.
Thank you for putting it together, Doris. Thank you for being on top of it. We appreciate you.
Bye.